Have you ever wondered if reality, as we perceive it, is actually a kind of film being projected? Well, we're about to explore a pretty incredible framework from the Quran that describes exactly that. It's a complete cinematic system, from the power source and the projector all the way down to the film itself. So let's dig in and see how this celestial machinery is put together.
It all starts with this one simple but powerful question. What if what you see, what you feel, what you experience, what if it's all a projection, a story running through some kind of cosmic machine?
Now, this isn't just a poetic metaphor. The Quran actually lays out a very precise system, with distinct parts, clear processes, and even built-in fail-safes. So we're going to break down how this model works component by component.
Okay, first things first, let's look at the hardware. The entire setup is made of 3 core components, and each one has a very specific job to do, anchored right in the Quranic text.
Every machine needs power, right? Well, the power source for this entire system is what we can call the live wire, and that's the angels. In verse 234, we see their nature is pure and immediate obedience. They provide a clean, steady, undistorted flow of energy to run the whole show, with zero resistance.
So, with the power on, we move to the projector itself, Adam. Verse 231 tells us that Adam was given the knowledge of all names, which means he acts as the central processing unit. This is the hardware that takes in the information, the film, and actually projects the image out onto the screen of reality.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We have the film motor, and in this model, that function is Iblīs. It's crucial to understand this. Iblīs here isn't an essence of evil, but a necessary mechanical function. Just like the motor in a projector, its job is to grab the film and pull it forward frame by frame. It creates the tension, the movement that's needed for the story, for the test to actually play out.
So we've got the machinery all set up, but what about the film that runs through it? Well, that's where we come in. The human experience is represented by 3 different kinds of film, and each one has its own distinct fate.
You see, the Quran explains that every single one of us has a book. It's our personal record, our story. In this model, that's your film tape. And as that tape runs through the projector, it exists in one of 3 possible states, and each one leads to a very different outcome. So what are these 3 states? They are the regulated tape, the unregulated tape, and the burnt tape. Let's take a look at what each of these means for the final projection.
First up is the regulated tape. Think of this as a perfectly calibrated, high-quality film. It's preset from the beginning with what the Quran calls ḥukm, which is basically sound judgment and wisdom. The classic example is Yaḥyā in verse 19:12. For a tape like this, the projection is flawless, the system runs smoothly without any danger of overload, and here's the key part. The film motor, Iblīs, has no power over it whatsoever.
Next, we have the unregulated tape, and this represents most of us. It's the standard human experience. The film is uncalibrated, which means it carries the built-in risk of a system overload, a major crisis point. The story of Yūnus in verse 2187 is the perfect picture of this state, which can end in one of 2 very different ways.
And this lays out the 2 possible paths so clearly. On the one hand, you can have a successful reset. That's the Yūnus pattern. The system overloads, but a specific code gets activated, the machine reboots, and the projection continues. But if that reset fails, you get the Pharaoh pattern. The overload leads to a total loss of function. The system crashes, and the physical body, the film itself, is only preserved as a warning sign for anyone who comes after.
And that leads us to the third and final state, the burnt tape. This is what happens when one of those unregulated tapes hits that crisis point, but the reset code is never entered. The film motor just keeps running the tape until it's completely destroyed. The projection fails, and just like with Pharaoh, the tape itself is preserved as a permanent sign of a total system failure.
So, if the unregulated tape is the default for most people, how do you avoid ending up as a burnt tape? Well, the system has a built-in fail-safe. Think of it like an emergency fuse, a specific reset code. Let's see what it is. This is it. This is the code. The emergency fuse is this specific declaration, the exact words Yūnus spoke when he was at his absolute lowest point. There is no deity except you. Exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. This isn't just a plea. It's a functional command that reboots the entire system.
So, to be perfectly clear, this phrase is a functional input.
It acts as an emergency fuse. It's a self-correctioning mechanism that instantly restores an overloaded tape, allowing the projection of that life to keep going, pulling it back from the edge of a complete and irreversible crash.
Now, this whole model isn't just something to observe from a distance. It's designed to be interactive. This final part of the system is all about how you, the individual, can proactively get involved. You see, beyond that emergency reset, the system also has a manual activation code, and this code lets anyone pre-calibrate their own tape. You can actually shift your tape from that unregulated state to a regulated one before any crisis even has a chance to happen.
So what is this activation code? We find it in the command given to Yaḥyā, our original example of the regulated tape. The instruction is a direct command for engagement. O Yaḥyā, take the book with strength.
And this command really breaks down into two very clear actions. First, take the book. That means accepting this entire framework, this guidance system, and making it your own. And second, do it with strength. That's not about brute force, it's about applying it with focused will, with clear discernment, and with coherence in your life.
When you take the book with strength, you kick off a profound transformation. The best way to picture it is like a metamorphosis. You start with this raw potential, like a caterpillar. By engaging with the book, you enter a chrysalis phase, a period of guided development. And the result? You emerge in a purified, stable form like a butterfly. This cycle shows the internal process that shifts your personal film tape from unregulated to fully regulated.
So this entire cinematic system, from the celestial hardware to the different film tapes and the activation codes, it's all laid out not just for us to study, but for us to interact with. It describes the very projection of reality and then hands us the user manual. And all of that leaves us with the one question this whole framework was designed to ask you. When will you activate 1912 and become the book?